Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Our big focus this hour, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has held extensive talks with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi, with the India-U.S. bilateral agenda taking center stage. From visa concerns to trade negotiations and the evolving West Asia situation, several key issues were discussed during the high-level meeting. India raised concerns over delays in U.S. visa processing and the impact of stricter immigration rules under the new America First visa system. Jaishankar said legal mobility for genuine Indian travelers and professionals should not be affected. Rubio, meanwhile, said the new system is aimed at making visa processing more efficient while also maintaining stronger security checks. Trade talks also saw major movement, with Rubio saying tremendous progress has been made on an interim India-U.S. trade agreement. A U.S. trade delegation is expected to visit India soon to take negotiations forward. The two sides also discussed tariffs, technology, partnership, AI, semiconductors and supply chain cooperation. West Asia was another major focus during the talks. Both leaders reviewed the Iran conflict, security of global shipping routes and energy supplies, especially amidst concerns over the Strait of Hormuz. In the joint statement, India and the U.S. reaffirmed their commitment to stronger strategic ties, terror cooperation, defense partnership and a free and open Indo-Pacific. Joining us live in the broadcast is Ambassador Sushil Shingal, former diplomat. We also have Major Dhruv Katoch, defense expert, live with us. Shruti Das-Gupta, foreign affairs expert, also joins us live. David K. Johnston, American author, is joining us live from New York as well. Let's get in a quick perspective from the United States of America first. David, how is this visit of Marco Rubio's being perceived where you are? How strategically important is the U.S. Secretary of State's visit to India at this point, given the timing of all that is on in geopolitics in the world, and also to try and cement relations with India, but also with the Quad nations, with the Quad foreign ministers meeting lined up as well in the next 48 hours?
Yeah. Outside of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, it's getting very little attention. Very little attention.
Okay. So, less media coverage is what you're saying for it, apart from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and a couple of other journals. I also saw it on a couple of other international media outlets as well earlier today and yesterday. But David, as far as the issues discussed now are concerned, what do you make of what would have been top of Marco Rubio's mind, and what all has come out in the press statements after?
Well, Rubio's got to deal with the legitimate upset by New Delhi over the tariffs and the other actions by Trump that are not in the interests of trade between the two countries. This is, of course, also when there's a meeting of the Quad, Japan, Australia, the United States, and India, about military matters. And the Trump administration has to be very worried about the relationship between New Delhi and Beijing. Trump got it made clear to him 2 weeks ago when he was in Beijing that Xi was not going to lift a finger to help him out of the quagmire he's created in the Strait of Hormuz. And although Trump claimed there were all sorts of deals made, the Chinese basically said, deals? What deals? We didn't make any deals. So Rubio is concerned about New Delhi's relationship to China, which is a big change from the Cold War era when Washington worried about New Delhi's relationship with Moscow. And he's certainly got to be concerned about where India is as one of the damaged partners, damaged countries from the shutdown of oil coming out of the Persian Gulf.
Yes. Let me take that to you, Ambassador Singhal, on your first takeaways of this Jaishankar Rubio meeting that has taken place today. Of course, it's come after a brief meeting between Marco Rubio and the Prime Minister of India as well yesterday. That meeting also went off very, very positively. That's what the U.S. Ambassador Sergio Gore said in his remarks at the U.S. Embassy at a function that I was also present at yesterday. Marco Rubio, of course, heaped praises on the relationship that he believes President Trump is taking forward because of his personal ties with PM Modi. But today you did see a couple of sticking issues, come up as well, including, of course, the visa issues and trade. What did you make of how the meeting went today, sir, and all that was brought up by both sides?
It's very interesting there that, the readout which are being given by the two sides, particularly the Prime Minister's meeting, you see the slight difference in what is being, prominently said, which shows the kind of, attitude, if I can use the term, India is showing. Maybe it's being, I think they are being very cautious when they are talking about, the readouts. One, and I think, whatever the, Marco Rubio said in the press conference that, it's not attempt to reset or stabilize the relationship. It is certainly an attempt on American side to, reassure that it's still there. And it's not, no, I don't see that it's not there. It is very much there because we all know that, the relationship has faced certain strains, be it on the tariff, be it on Pakistan issue, be it on Russian oil, and of course, more foremost is this foreign policy style of the Trump. So the relationship has suffered. But what I see that the discussion was in five major areas. One, first, of course, as we're talking about Strait of Hormuz, West Asia crisis. I think that was almost they must have exchanged views, and I think they did that. Then this relationship, strategic and defense partnership, they want to carry forward because it suits everybody. So I think they had an in-depth discussion on that. Then Quad coordination, because after 2 days we are going to have a meeting of the Quad. So they had a discussion on Quad, on the relevance, what they want to talk about. I think this was an attempt to have certain agenda for this meeting. Then trade and economic issues, which is I think is the most important. These issues, I think they came up. And of course, there was a readout also that, when Marco Rubio expressed hope that they will have a soon the agreement. So this whole gamut of the, relationship was discussed, and people to people, of course. This, I think our Indian side has raised it very, very clearly that what is happening on these visa issues is not, they need to do something about it. Of course, Marco Rubio tried to say that, it's not focused on India, but we all know that that's when visa mostly are used by is the Indians. So I think these are the five areas which were discussed during this discussion.
Okay, and do you also see this then as this attempt to reset India-U.S. ties completely, Major General Katoch? Is this visit aimed at that? This, this visit by Marco Rubio is spending an enormous amount of time in India. It's almost a 4-day visit. He's going, of course, he's already been in Kolkata yesterday, Delhi currently, going to Agra and Jaipur tomorrow before he comes back to Delhi for that Quad Foreign Ministers meeting. So it's a pretty long visit. Also, it comes ahead of possible talks of a Modi-Trump meeting next month in France on the sidelines of G7. That hasn't been confirmed as yet, but there are murmurs. No confirmed plans of either of the two as yet, either for France. But do you see this meeting as laying the base for a complete reset in India-U.S. ties? And what did you believe was the biggest takeaway for you from the press statement and the discussion points that were mentioned, came up today in New Delhi?
Well, I don't think one visit actually can reset of the relationship, which has been damaged over the past year and a half. But yes, the very fact that Mr. Marco Rubio has spent so much time here, there is an attempt in that direction. But the point is, there was no joint communique issued today. So each side gave out their own version of what has happened, which indicates that there are differences there, and those differences will be resolved quietly. I mean, there is no need to propagate them outside. They have been highlighted already. We are talking about tariff and trade, the U.S. outreach to Pakistan, differences over Iran. There is also a concern in the U.S. regarding how India deals with Russia. Very specifically, they don't want that sort of an outreach as Russia. And
right. Major Katoch, we're having some technical issues with you. I'm going to come back to you very, very shortly. I don't know, your connection's acting up a bit. I'm going to ask our producers to just fix that. I'm coming back to you in 30 seconds. Shruti Das Gupta, quickly coming to you. Let's talk about the concern as well on US visas and immigration that has also been raised by S. Jaishankar. Extremely important. This is something that did concern the Indian diaspora. India did not shy away from bringing it up today. Of course, Marco Rubio said it's not just about India, it's an overall strengthening of the system. He's also mentioned this America First visa, which he feels will help business to business ties. So he's saying that it's not a complete cutoff for people, for India, but we're resetting the system, and he defended the tighter immigration policies of the Trump administration. How did you see that point brought up by S. Jaishankar and its a response by the American side, Shruti? And also you can give us your other takeaways of this meeting and all that came up.
So I do believe that USA has had a problem with immigration, specifically in the last 4 years during the Biden administration, where a large they saw a deluge of open border policy resultant unregistered immigrants taking up space in American quarters. So I do believe they do have that issue, and the administration is duty bound to address it. We also have been on many panels discussing how convoluted the entire visa and immigration scenario in USA in itself is. It's tied itself up in multiple knots, and there definitely needs to be a system reset. That being said, he has tried to coach it in very polite terms, saying it's not an anti-India policy. We are doing this to all nations and everybody gets impacted equally. And we are grateful for anybody who wants to come and contribute meaningfully to America and American economy as well as the tech sectors. So he's couched it very nicely without really placing emphasis on the fact that Indians are the largest number of H-1B and the other number of visas. Indians are the largest number of people who are coming there legally to work for the benefit of their economy as well as taking their own personal careers forward. So there in itself lies the quandary of the question. He has tried to generalize the answer without trying to showcase how he and his administration have directly impacted the Silicon Valley as well as the tech sectors. And the current everyday new notices of whether within 6 months you find it or you get home, irrespective of whether your spouse is there, whether your children are there, are American born and American citizens or not. So it places family dynamics in for Indian tech sectors in a very difficult position. And America, at least under Trump 2.0, is unwilling to look at India exceptionalism, which is a very required minute right now that they should focus on. That India cannot be clubbed with the others, especially in visa rules, because we do come there legally, not on bloated boats and not jumping borders. So this is something that they have not been able to address, identify, isolate, and ensure that their own tech sectors as well as India's diaspora is not impacted. He has skirted around the issue, and that is unfortunate that we were unable to get a clarity of sorts from the Trump administration on this. Now, beyond that, we found that Jaishankar has very, very politely told them that India is about dialogue. You cannot bully us in with us or an against us kind of scenario in most of the points that he has put forth. When he said that it is an India first approach that the Indian government would look at, while you can continue with your American first, and if our interests converge, then we should work together, and if it doesn't, we should not oppose each other as such. In not so many words, he has told that we will do what is best for us. You please continue your own way. So he has been very nice and polite about it, but that's diplomatic speak. I'm sure that Marco Rubio and his team can effectively deconstruct and figure out that India is not playing the slave nation ball. We are looking for partners, not masters.
Yes,
and
and there have been many other statements. There have been many other statements, like yesterday again, another statement that I noted, in particular, was where Secretary Rubio said that India is the cornerstone of US's relationship with the entire India-Pacific. So he's been, heaping praise on India and its position in the world, and also, of course, on the US's position with India and relationship with India. But General Katoch, I want to try and get you back in here, if we have your connection up and running, on again your perspective. I'd like you to delve more on the security military aspect as well that was brought up. Also the reference to the war in West Asia and India's emphasis of peace and hopeful for a resolution very soon?
Thank you, Uday. I hope you're okay now. On strategic convergence, we have convergence in the Indo-Pacific. And that I think is the only positive because on other issues, there is no convergence. We have tremendous differences. And those differences have been highlighted in tariffs and trade, in the U.S. outreach to Pakistan. There are differences over Iran, differences over Russia. We have all those differences. But on the Indo-Pacific, I think there is a convergence. And that is the only place where I think we can actually work together. Work together mutually. That is one. On the defense deal, we still have problems about that about the engines for our Tejas, the F414 engines. They're supposed to come. I'm not sure as to what the progress is or why the US is continually delaying the release. On tech transfer, I think there will be hesitation on the part of the US as far as tech transfers are concerned. So we have our concerns. But the good point, I think, what I really liked about this meeting is India is not going to bow down. We are going to look after our interest, as
Okay.
Shruti very rightly said. For India, it is India first. If our strategic interests converge, like in the Indo-Pacific, yep, we'll go along with them. Where they don't converge, we will do what is right for India. On the Gulf, we have very, very serious challenges as far as oil is concerned. And I think our primary concern as of now is to get the Strait of Hormuz open, and whatever has to be done toward that end, India will give it support. So that is the way it lies. The very fact that there was no joint communique, I think there is a realization between both sides that there are certain areas where we can
Yes.
actually work together.
And there's a reception happening at this point as well. Again, that is being attended by External Affairs Minister and the US Secretary of State and the US Ambassador. There's another special reception happening as well, an Independence Day celebration, an early one in the national capital that again says a lot of the closeness and really, of course, the kind of expectation, the scale of this visit as well. It's not a small visit, as I was emphasizing on earlier. Ambassador Singhal, quickly bringing you back in here on also, this heap of praise by Marco Rubio for the Quad again shows that the US is serious about the Quad as a very important grouping for it and an important strategic partnership. There was all this talk about President Trump not coming for the Quad meeting, which was leading many to question the relevance or the future of the Quad. But literally Marco Rubio in the last 24 hours praising the Quad, talking about its relevance, speaking importantly about how he, on the first day of him being Secretary of State last year, attended a Quad meeting. He said that was the first thing I did in office, on my first day in office, which obviously shows the relevance and importance of the Quad for him personally. What does that tell us also about the Quad grouping's future going ahead as well, as we build up to that key meeting on Tuesday?
Well, what Secretary of State is mentioning, actually, this is what is required of him, and he's doing exactly what the Secretary of State is supposed to do, or what the American actually really require. But only problem is that does it, has the approval of President Trump? Will he follow it through? Because that is a very big question which is coming. Because the way President Trump is treating in the second time when he has come, the way he is treating Quad is raising question marks about the future of Quad in the priority of President Trump. I will separate here the State Department and President Trump himself. The State Department, and as far as the Secretary of War is concerned, I think they are on the same page on this point. But when it comes to President Trump, maybe he is having a rethink after his visit to China, because China he went to with the great hopes and he has come back without getting anything, and rather he was given a warning on Taiwan. So maybe there is a rethink taking place now in Trump 2.0. And when the Secretary of State comes here and make these statements, maybe it represents the thinking which will, I think, come out when the meeting takes place in next 2 days. And what really transpires there, that will set the tone. As far as the India is concerned, I think what India is trying to do is we are trying to separate the irritant from the long term. We are trying to manage, we have differences like we were talking about, differences on the trade tariffs, trade issues, and of course, some geopolitical issues. We have a difference. So, but what we are focusing on is the long term, where we have a convergence, be it defense, be it other areas. So what we are trying to do is separate these two and manage this relationship so that the focus is not lost. Because what the feeling in Delhi is, in my view, that what is happening during this Trump 2.0 is a temporary phase, and we don't want this to become too big a stumbling block in the long-term relationship.
Yes, yes, indeed. And also, of course, there is again an emphasis on energy ties, on trade as well. There were those trade fissures. Is everything well as far as business ties and trade ties with India are concerned in the U.S., Shruti? What did you make of the trade aspect of the conversation today as well? Also, Marco Rubio talking about oil purchases stepping up. That will obviously help our energy supply and security right now. There's also talks of the U.S. Hoping to push Venezuelan oil, more Venezuelan oil into India too.
We did try up a trade deal with them, I think January of this year itself, regarding the LPG, which has played up to our favor now that we've seen the West Asia crisis unfold as it goes on a weekly basis. That has taught us a lesson we were already prepared for, that we need to diversify our sources as well as the routes we get access to our energy sources from. So that has played up well. It was I guess, a very well calculated move, or probably something that was anticipated, that we might have problems in the future. So let's buy some from America as well. We've had trades. We've increased our trade, I think, with Australia also with regards to LPG, if I'm not wrong. We have, as far as the Venezuelan bit is concerned, India was already buying about 9 to 10% in 2019 before the sanctions by Trump 1.0 had hit Venezuela and forced all people who were interacting with Venezuela to step out of the equation. So now when India says, okay, we are ready to buy again, it does not mean that we are doing so at America's behest. We were always open. We were just waiting for the sanctions to be lifted. And more so, I think it is a nod towards Delcy Rodriguez that, okay, you can now sell oil to India, because as we all agree that Venezuelan oil now stands firmly under the purview of Donald Trump exclusively, and without his nod, Delcy Rodriguez cannot sell to whoever she wants. So it is not whether India was told to buy or not. Venezuela was told to sell because India was already a buyer, which had backed off after US sanctions had hit that very nation. So the Venezuelan oil is done and dusted. We have seen, I think, about a 10 to 15% hike with trade. We've imported more from America in the last financial year to now. That shows that India is putting its commitment specifically in the energy sector. I think this is where the major jump has come from towards America. America has a limited amount of barrels that they produce, and they have promised it all over the world, right from Europe, whom they had pushed a very ugly deal down the throat.
Stay with us. Stay with us. We're getting some breaking news also coming in now. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has spoken at the American Independence Day celebrations that I was just referring to a few minutes ago. He has praised the Indian hospitalities and has emphasized the importance of India-U.S. relations, saying, and I quote, "We are extraordinarily proud of our country and its history. We're also proud because so much of what we have achieved in our history has been built in partnership with other countries around the world."
By the same token, we're also proud because we know that so much of what we've achieved in our history has been built in partnership with other countries around the world, with which we share so much. And one of those relationships that I'm so excited about going into the 21st century, given the challenges and the opportunities of this new era, is India. It's one of those countries that I know that we have this very valuable strategic partnership with, and we share so many values and so many common interests. And so, obviously, I try to get around the world. I will try to go to other celebrations of our 250th birthday in different parts of the world, although I doubt any will have a production like this one. But I want you to know that part of my visit here is also to reinforce how important this relationship is, how exciting.
praises on the Indian hospitality and the India-U.S. partnership once again. What do you make of these fresh comments coming in from the U.S. Secretary of State, Major General Katuch?
Yeah, obviously he's trying for a reset, as I had said initially. But ultimately, those differences remain, which have to be ironed out. That will take time. But on the long term, as the ambassador very correctly said, we have a strategic relationship in the defense field, and especially in the Indo-Pacific. That is the one place where India's interests align with the U.S. interests. And there we are going to keep strengthening it. The Quad meeting will take place.
All right. More breaking news, in fact, also coming in now. I'm going to thank our guests for joining us on the